Well, it came down to the wire for me in Team of the Year as my quest to try and get my third and final Ultimate Team of the Year player item went right to the final hours of the event in my quest to try and land Cale Makar's Ultimate Team of the Year item.
I'm never gonna financially recover from this.
Now, when I said I left it to the last minute, I meant it. I had about 3 hours left to try and get 487 and above overall items to try and get Cale Makar, who was my goal. After trading in almost all of my collection, I pieced together some sets with a few coins and buying cards individually, like a couple 84s as well as 85s, and I was able to get a few more 87 overalls that I could use for the set. And then with prices crashing on the final day, I was able to grab an 87 overall Steve Yzerman for 55,000 coins, all but wiping my coin base out entirely. And then I said goodbye to the Frozen Forces Dougie Hamilton, as Makar would replace him anyways. So I took him out of the lineup, threw him into the set, and with only a couple hours remaining, I got my third and final Ultimate Team of the Year item from NHL 25, and welcomed Cale Makar to the squad. So now that Team of the Year is finished, and I've got the 3 players that I wanted from the event, it was time to take them into Hut Champs. Now, I had mentioned in the prior No Money Spent video that when it came to Connor McDavid and Nathan MacKinnon, I had taken wheels off of them because they were just running out of energy so much. But after reading a lot of comments on the video, as well as just in the community on Reddit and things like that, I decided to just put everything back on them and do a full champs run and just see how it felt afterwards, regardless of what game-to-game felt like. So all of their abilities went on, including all for Cale Makar, who also has gold wheels and elite edges. Now, this week's Hut Champs card was the 90 overall Wyatt Johnston. We saw another jump in overall for the Hut Champs player item. 91 if you were able to get top 100. Yeah, in my dreams. However, taking a look at the 90 overall Wyatt Johnston with playmaking forward as well as power shooting boost, this is a terrific card. 6'2", 184. He's got 92 speed and 91 excel. With playmaking forward activated, he gets up to 96 agility. He's got a good shot, gold elite edges, as well as great hand stats. So a card that I'm interested in, and if he doesn't make my lineup or he is removed very quickly, I can always trade him in for future Master Set player items. Now, the Hut Champs run was pretty typical. Decent start, get absolutely smoked by a couple others. I will note that ever since Team of the Year was released and the Nikita Kucherov upgrades came out for his X Factor item and upgrading him to 90 overall, he's been like one of my most impactful forwards, which is kind of nice because obviously I didn't get his Team of the Year item, but his X Factor card has been more than fine and honestly one of my best players. Now, MacKinnon and McDavid starting to get going. They struggled with them early on, and I'm not really sure why. It might have just been that everyone's kind of got those cards on their first line, and they're just kind of canceling each other out. But I definitely noticed MacKinnon and McDavid's Team of the Year items. They just feel faster when they have the puck. The stamina issue is annoying, but once you kind of just get used to the fact that, okay, they've got a rush, now it's time to switch lines, it gets a little bit more palatable. However, one of my most requested things from you guys is a gameplay walkthrough covering certain plays and strategies and things I look for when I'm playing. So I thought that's what we'll do. Heading into a Hut Champs game, I've got 9 wins, looking for my 10th to get Wyatt Johnston. So it's time to go back to school. One of my favorite things to do. Let's break down the tape. Nothing like playing outside in Hut Champs.
Why is it so bright?
I'll be honest, the outdoor rink's kind of cool. I'm just like a firm believer that Hut Champs should have nothing but the most competitive and linear set of settings, like whether it's the indoor arenas, no international ice, things like that, and saving everything else for rivals, wild card, squad battle, stuff like that. But we can't do anything about it, so it is what it is. Our first thing I want to cover is defending the breakout. A lot of players will actually give up their goals from this situation right here. It doesn't happen right when the puck goes in your net. It all starts from where the breakout is that sets up that play. So one of the first things I do when I lose the puck in the offensive zone is I'll hold down the right trigger and then click in the right stick. That will auto-select the closest player to your goaltender. This doesn't matter what zone it's in. So it will always give you the furthest player back. And the reason for that is I can kind of set up that play to make sure I don't give up any breakaways. Now, when it comes to what you're doing when you're defending with your defender in this situation is you don't want to put any pressure on the puck carrier or even try and intercept the pass, because that can put you out of position and now you've given up a 2-on-1 or potentially a breakaway. So watch how I just stick right with this AI so that when he makes the pass, I'm in position to knock it free or make him curl backwards, which is ultimately what you want to do as often as you possibly can. Now, after I see that he's curled back with Connor McDavid and he sends it over, when you want to intercept passes, do not put your player's body in the passing lane. You need to put your stick in, which leads to a lot of misconceptions when it comes to getting angry about not intercepting passes because you put your player's body in the passing lane. With MacKinnon here, I just want to make sure that I cover any passing lane, and the far side winger is the player that's open. So I hold down my stride, and I'm able to intercept the pass. I don't collect it cleanly, and it ends up being an offside, but it was a well-defended play nonetheless, and I just wanted to give you examples of that, of little things that you want to look for when it comes to defending the rush. And 3 minutes into the game, I'm up against an extremely typical NHL 25 HUT player.
And you are one pathetic loser.
That's just L2 skating with the speed burst down the boards and then hucking it in the middle. I've started talking about this on stream quite a bit. Every year, there is a gameplay meta that everyone kind of figures out. This happens in all sports games, not just NHL. This is one of my least favorite when it comes to the meta of NHL. And the second that you see plays like this, you know that that is going to be the majority of what they're going to do. And it's just frustrating to defend. On top of that, it's not a real-life hockey play. No one gets faster out of this kind of skating motion in real life. And all in all, just leads to a pretty frustrating gameplay experience. That being said, it doesn't mean that it's an automatic loss. Now, in the offensive zone, a face-off strategy that I like to do early on in the game is go backhand straight back. And the reason for that is if you are playing someone that is knowledgeable of the game, they know that this play specifically, if I were to tie up, my far side winger can literally just come in and score. It's almost an automatic goal. So I counter their counter, essentially, and because I've got Steve Yzerman, I win almost every draw. So I'm able to win the draw, and in this situation, I'm looking to see what player he selects and what he's doing with that player. Seeing that he selects Zubov, and he's playing for that left-handed Ovechkin one-timer, he's leaving Cale Makar wide open for a one-timer, so I'm able to fire that on. It's blocked, and I pick it back up with Connor McDavid. Again, he's being very aggressive. He has a pretty bad player switch, and again, the points are wide open. In this game, anytime that the points are wide open, you have to take advantage of that. So I send another missile with Cale Makar. That one's blocked as well, but this is another perfect example of defending the rush. So when I lose the puck, I've got Connor McDavid right here. A lot of players would beeline right for Hull, which would leave that streaking winger on a pretty easy breakout pass. I don't move, covering that passing lane. Now, that is clearly his first read because he stops up. He sees that I'm not moving with Connor McDavid, and that pass is no longer an option. So he has to curl back around and send it across, something that he doesn't want to do. And then my next player select is with Nathan MacKinnon. Again, I'm running the 1-2-2. The one that's already in on the forecheck is already up in the play. So if I were to take Nathan MacKinnon and rush Hughes here, that would leave his winger wide open down the boards. So he's pressured again by my forechecker, and he sends a quick pass, and I'm able to get the puck right back. Now, later on in the first, still 0-0, I pick the puck above my own zone with Cale Makar, and when you have an extremely good skater on the back end, the best way to utilize them is to break the puck out with them instead of passing it up. You want to get them into full stride so that your opponent is having to switch and defend while their players are back skating, and you can sometimes catch them. I'm able to blow by his player down the boards, finally utilizing Cale Makar's skating, and fire one over to Fabian Zetterlund and get on the board, make it 1-0. Now halfway through the second, break the puck in with Fabian Zetterlund yet again. However, I'm completely out of gas, which is crazy. From just going from my blue line to my opponent's blue line, you can see Zetterlund's stamina just completely drain. And in this instance right here, I know that if I send it all the way around to try and dump the puck in, my far side player doesn't have enough speed to get there first. So I stop up and then wait for my trailer. In this case, it's Backstrom. And sometimes you just got to fire it on in the net, especially with a one-timer. And Backstrom's able to cleanly beat his goaltender. And now I'm up 2-0. And this is all off just a nothing play. But I'm hoping by showing you guys some of these examples that when you're skating with the puck, you want to be looking everywhere else than the actual puck carrier. And I think in the lower divisions, that's what players struggle with the most. They're staring at their player with the puck. So I was able to take advantage of Backstrom getting open, and I'm up 2-0. And then in the third, again, this play is just very difficult to defend. When it comes to intercepting passes that are just thrown right through the middle, you've got to try and align your player's stick, not your body. And in this case, it goes right off Axel Sandin Pellikka's skates and into the net. Really frustrating because I don't know what else I can do in terms of like a gameplay standpoint. But these are the kinds of things that you're going to run into when you're playing champs or Division 2 or 1 rivals. And after defending it well all game long, he finally gets a rush with Nathan MacKinnon. L2 skates right down the boards to get a step. I try to have my player in line with the stick to intercept the pass. However, Bork comes right over and runs right into me. He sends it through both players, and in the matter of 15 seconds, it's all tied up. Another instance of, again, breaking the puck out with the fastest players that you've got and letting them hit to top speed. Colton Parayko's my best card, obviously, and I'm able to just fly through the neutral zone. And when you are thinking about sending a pass through the middle, there's two things that you want to pay attention to. Number one is they're back towards the goalie. Again, you want your player's stick in the passing lane. They will make an animation to intercept it. It's not perfect, but it gives you a chance. When your players back skate right into the goalie, it has to hit their skate. They won't really make an animation at all. And in this situation right here, I just noticed that his AI does not really turn around until the absolute last second. I've got Nathan MacKinnon on his strong side, and I'm able to retake the lead on a great rush by Colton Parayko. Moments later, off of a face-off win, I break the puck towards the middle of the ice, and I'm trying to hit my centerman to go right through the middle. However, the pass does not get through. It's turned over to Heisey. I try to manually goalie switch to Pocheck at the last second. Great patience by my opponent, and we're tied up yet again. Now in overtime, this is why I tell people that when you give up goals, if you rewatch your game tape, you're going to find out that almost all of your goals happen far earlier than the actual puck crossing the line. Everyone's focused on how it actually goes into the net, but it's the plays that are set up far in advance that have the biggest impact on if you score or give up goals. So in this instance in overtime, I rip one on with Yzerman, and it almost goes in clean, but he picks up the rebound. Now, again, he's trying to break out with Connor McDavid. My forechecker is right on his back, and I've got Nathan MacKinnon, and I'm just trying to cover the passing lanes that he has available to him. He tries to force one right through MacKinnon, which I'm able to pick up with Yzerman, which allows me to walk into the zone, rip a one-timer with Bork that's blocked, and this is a prime example of looking everywhere but the puck carrier and trying to set up one extra pass before you actually send it. I picked the puck up with MacKinnon, and I'm looking for one situation. Where does he go with Cale Makar? He decides to attack me, which means I have two options. I notice that I've got Ray Bork all alone at the point. However, he's on his offhand, which means if I send it to him, he is going to be kind of handcuffed. Notice how Connor McDavid is wide open behind the net. So I immediately curl back to Connor McDavid, and I look right in front of the net. He's got it covered with Messier. However, I notice that he's almost caught up on his goaltender. And anytime you have a situation like that, trust that the game is not going to assist you in that situation. He tries to desperately intercept the pass, but it goes right through to Yzerman, and I'm able to win it in overtime. This all happened because of a busted breakout, because I was covering the passing lanes, and he made a force right through the middle. So that gave me my 10th win, and because my time is limited, don't really feel a need to continue finishing out the run. I'll take my Wyatt Johnston and wait for next week. Speaking of next week, we did get the Four Nations Face-Off event, and there are definitely some interesting cards that I want to try and add to the team, because my team's gotten a little stale. Even with the acquisitions of Team of the Year items, a lot of my players have been around for quite some time. And right off the bat, Mikko Rantanen is a prime target. He's always a fantastic card because he's 6'4", 215, with Sniper Forward, he has almost a maxed out wrist shot, but on top of that, he's got 94 speed, 93 excel, and 95 agility, making him one of the best skaters in the game. His hand stats are all above 94, and he's got 90 face-offs, meaning that you could play him at center. Gold Schneip and Unstoppable Force are fine abilities, not must-haves, but they can definitely help him out. And I just think that he would be a great acquisition to even play on my first line as a center, replacing Steve Yzerman, to go with Nathan MacKinnon and Connor McDavid, because while Steve is unbelievable at taking faceoffs, he's just not nearly as strong a skater as those two, and I'm having a hard time meshing that line well. I would really love to put Steve Yzerman down on the third line and use him in every situation in which I have to win a draw, replacing JT Miller. So putting Rantanen as my first line center, or even replacing Nicholas Backstrom, either option, it just gives me some lineup flexibility, so he is a card that I think I'm going to target. Now, one thing to note, the Four Nations face-off event is quite expensive. It's 388 overalls from the event, plus 2 other 88 and above player items to make the 91 Master Set player items. But before you rush out and make a Master Set player item, wait until week 2, because it does look like if you make both of the 91 Master Set player options from a specific country, you will get the 92 ultimate player for that nation. And we don't know if that player is going to have free abilities or whatever, but at least you want to see what the options are before you dump all of your resources, and you probably don't have that many after Team of the Year, and there be an incredible card that you missed out on because you went with maybe Rantanen. Meanwhile, Team Canada might get an awesome 92 overall player. Now, we also need to talk about the fantasy hockey sets for this event. At the time of this recording, there's only 3 days left. It is going to end before the Four Nations event begins, which I think is the right way to do it. However, the cost is just absolutely astronomical. 15 fantasy hockey collectibles is essentially the same price as the ultimate Team of the Year items, and unless there is some sort of miracle, there's no way that any of the fantasy cards from this release are going to hit 99. Instead, what I would recommend if you are going to make one is to simply do the 6 fantasy hockey items and get one at random that is account bound if you were dead set on getting a fantasy hockey player item from this event. Now, me personally, I would love to get a card from this release, whether it's Mitch Marner from Canada, Gensel from Team USA, Elias Pettersson from Sweden, or Patrick Laine from Finland. It's just the cost is so much, and because I dumped everything I had to make a Team of the Year item on the last day, I just don't see how I'm going to do it. I will have a ranking coming out from the Master Set player items as well as the fantasy items from this release if you are looking for what I would recommend, but it is just going to be awfully hard to justify and even come up with the resources if you're no money spent. If you take a look at the sets to make the fantasy hockey collectibles, it's essentially a 1-for-1 for an 87 overall item. 3 of them will get you 3. I don't know why they don't just make 1-for-1, but it is what it is. This operates exactly like Team of the Year did. I do want to point out to all newer players that started around the holiday season or after the original fantasy hockey event, if you head on over to the moments, all the way over to the fantasy hockey moments that came out when the event originally came out, if you complete all of these moments, you can get 4 fantasy hockey collectibles that will work for this release, meaning that you would only need 2 more to do one of the account-bound player items. If you have not done these moments, I 100% recommend you finish these moments and then go and complete and make an account-bound player item to get involved in the event. The fantasy hockey cards are awesome. It's going to make the Four Nations event watchable for a lot of players that have no interest, so just something to keep in mind. And then the last thing, we've only got 11 days left at the time of this recording for Season 3 of the XP Path. I am only a few short tiers away from getting Dylan Larkin, and he is 100% going to be my first-line center. So even if I do make Mikko Rantanen, he'll just move to the wing. I'm excited to get Dylan Larkin. This is going to be a usable card for quite some time, and if you've got McKinnon and McDavid's Team of the Year items, it's just a perfect player to go right in the middle. So excited to finish that up. That's going to do it for this episode of No Money Spent. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.